Part 1. The Gray Color of Hopelessness. Beyond the window, a gray drizzle fell eternally. It seemed that in this city, forgotten by God and the municipal services alike, the sun was merely a legend, a myth told by the rich on television screens. Maxim woke to a familiar sound. Water striking the enamel basin in the center of the room. Drip, drip, drip. This rhythm was the soundtrack of his childhood. He was 12 years old, yet his eyes held the weary look of an old dog that had been swatted with a rolled-up newspaper far too many times. He pulled on a sweater that had long since surrendered to his growth, its sleeves ending comically at his elbows. The cold in the apartment wasn't just a temperature. It was a physical presence, like an unwanted family member sitting in the corner breathing frost. The kitchen smelled of fried onions and cheap tobacco. His father sat at the table, staring into an empty bottle. His mother, hunched over, her hands red and raw from washing clothes in ice water, was trying to conjure breakfast out of nothing. "Mom, I'm heading out," Maxim mumbled quietly. "Wait." His father didn't even lift his head. "Where's the money? The neighbor said you chopped wood for someone yesterday." "I bought bread and medicine for Mom." Maxim's voice trembled, but he tried to stand tall. His father grunted, a heavy, malicious sound. "Medicine? You'd better think about your father. You're a failure just like your grandfather. Nothing will ever come of you, Maxim. You'll break your back at the factory until you drop dead." Those words burrowed under his skin deeper than the frost. School was no better. Teachers looked at him through the lens of his tattered clothes. "Maxim unprepared again?" the literature teacher would ask, pinching the corner of his notebook with disgust, where the ink had blurred from the dampness of his home. Poverty is no excuse for laziness. The class roared with laughter. Their laughter was sharper than a blade. Maxim remained silent. He had learned to be silent because words carried no weight. Only actions had weight. Part 2. Treasures in the Wasteland. Maxim's sanctuary was the old city landfill. Where others saw filth, Maxim saw potential. He found ancient radios, broken clocks, discarded toys. In his hands, black with grease and covered in scratches, these things came back to life. He set up a workshop in the basement of his building. A table made of crates, a lamp scavenged from the trash, and a soldering iron he had traded for a collection of pins. There, beneath the humming of rusty pipes, he felt like a creator. When an old transistor radio first hissed and then clarified into the smooth sound of jazz, Maxim wept. Not from sadness but from a realization. I can fix the world. Still messing with that junk? His neighbor, Uncle Vazia, spat on the ground as he walked past the basement. Go steal some copper wire like the normal boys. Buy yourself some smokes. I don't smoke, Maxim replied, not taking his eyes off a circuit board. Then you're a fool. Years passed. Maxim finished school, but university was a dream for people with money. He became a laborer. By day, he hauled bags of cement until his muscles screamed. By night, when his hands shook with fatigue, he sat down with his soldering iron. He began buying broken phones and laptops for pennies, repairing them and reselling them. His first serious success came at 22. He restored a rare vintage tube amplifier found in a grandfather's attic and sold it to a collector for $500. It was a fortune. He brought the money home and placed it in front of his mother. "This is for you, Mom. For a real doctor." His mother wept, stroking his rough hands. His father simply walked out of the room in silence. His failure of a son had done what he hadn't been able to do in years. Part 3. The Wall. But life is not a fairy tale where the credits roll after the first victory. When Maxim opened his first small repair shop in a rented garage, he was robbed. They took everything: tools, client equipment, his savings. He stood in the middle of the devastated garage, staring at a shattered lamp, the very one from his basement days. "I told you." His father's voice rang in his head, louder than reality. "Don't stick your neck out." It was a moment of truth. The easiest path was to drink. Or to give up and go back to the construction site. Maxim sat on the cold concrete floor and closed his eyes. He remembered the sound of jazz from that first fixed radio. He remembered his mother's eyes. He stood up. He borrowed money at insane interest rates. He slept 3 hours a night. He ate once a day. But 6 months later, He didn't just restore the workshop, he opened a service center. That was when he met Elena. She brought in a laptop soaked in coffee, looking at him not as a servant but as a wizard. Can you really save it? My thesis is in there. I save even that which seems dead, Maxim smiled. She became his anchor. When he collapsed from exhaustion, she was there. She believed in him when he began to doubt himself. They married modestly, but his eyes held more happiness than a royal wedding. Part 4. The Summit. 10 years passed. Maxim stood by the panoramic window of his office. His company, Phoenix Tech, specialized in restoring industrial electronics and developing smart home systems. He adjusted his expensive jacket, though the habit of checking his fingernails for dirt remained. His phone rang. It was Elena. Max, will you make it for dinner? The kids are waiting. Andre drew a picture of you. I'll be there, my love. I'm leaving now. Before heading home, he drove to a familiar district. The old Soviet block looked even more pathetic against the backdrop of his new car. He climbed to the 3rd floor. The door was opened by his father, old, withered, but sober. Maxim had paid for his rehab 5 years ago. It had been a brutal battle, but they had won. Hello, Dad. Hello, son. Come in. Mom baked a pie. The apartment was warm. New windows, renovations, good furniture. But most importantly, the fear was gone. I am proud of you, Maxim, his father said for the first time in 35 years, looking at the floor. Forgive me for everything. Maxim placed a hand on the old man's shoulder. The weight of the past evaporated. Part 5. The circle closes. He hadn't forgotten. Wealth did not blind him, for he still remembered the taste of empty porridge. On weekends, Maxim visited his old basement. Now it was the Techno Hub, a free robotics club for children from low-income families, which he funded. He walked inside. 3D printers hummed. The air smelled of rosin and solder. Among a dozen children, he noticed a boy. A dirty sweater 2 sizes too big. The eyes of a wolf cub. The boy was trying to solder 2 wires, but his hands were trembling. The other kids were laughing at him. Maxim approached. The room went silent. The big boss was here. He sat down on the floor next to the boy, disregarding his tailored suit. What's your name? Maxim asked. Sashko, the boy mumbled, hiding his grimy hands. Look, Sashko. Maxim picked up the soldering iron. His movements were precise and confident. The secret isn't about having no fear. The secret is to keep going, even when your hands are shaking. He helped the boy make the contact. A small LED on the circuit board flared with a bright green light. Sashko's eyes widened. In them appeared that same spark that had once ignited Maxim. You have talent, Maxim said loudly so everyone could hear. If you keep working at it, I will personally pay for your education. Leaving the building, Maxim looked up at the sky. The rain had stopped. The sun was breaking through the clouds, reflecting in the puddles on the broken asphalt. He got into his car, where photos of his wife and 2 sons waited on the dashboard. His life had not been a gift from fate. It was a structure he had assembled himself, part by part, through pain, burns, and despair. And now he knew for certain. Even from wreckage you can build a sanctuary.